Gentlemen, is
Hello.
this,
Hey, Rudy.
hey, Harris, glad you're able to make it. How was the flight?
This is Michael Cunningham.
Oh, sorry, Mike. How was the flight?
And I have,
Huh?
uh-oh, man, I'm supposed to be somewhere.
No, I thought you already were somewhere. You were Harris. Yeah, I figured that. Yeah, see, he's up in Toronto now. He's look at that. Center stage. You're still muted, Harris. There you go.
I'm back.
You back?
No,
Wait
I've
a
been
minute. How
back
can
all
you be back?
weekend.
Man, the game. We need you.
Oh, I know. I'm looking at a little bit of it right now, man. I hope we do something here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. My producer was chiding me for a second there. I think Mike is somewhere around. Stan Green, I'm just, he just buzzed me. I don't know if you know Stan Green, Harris. He used to talking about ball or whatnot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Can
he
you
went
hear
to
me,
Penn.
Rudy?
Oh, he was
Huh?
a shot
Can you hear
caller,
me?
too.
I can hear you, Mike. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So,
All right.
Harris,
Yes, sir.
Corbett, Michael
High school.
Cunningham. I'm introducing you to for now.
Yeah, you might want to give people a couple extra minutes.
Yeah. That's why we're gonna talk about the game. So,
Oh, man.
that's what I thought you'd be at, man. I was
Oh,
ready.
man, it was snowing up there last week. I think I was there last
Golly.
week. It was snowing. I got 6 inches of snow up there, man. We
Oh
got
man.
70 degrees over here.
And them boys, oh well, we'll see what happens,
Yeah. I think they're gonna be all right though. Those
Yeah.
six, they're gonna be all right. They already got their money, man. We need to get ours. We gotta get
That's
that pizza money. I see you got those dollar bills back there,
Oh,
man.
you like that
I
house?
like
Yeah,
that.
man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I
this is
try to
my
sneak in.
yeah. Well, hey, I open up the door, man.
All
No
right, there you
problem.
go. Just let me
Open
sneak
up the
in here a
door.
little bit, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, how's your week been so far, man?
So far, so good. Busy, the business is where it is,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just busy, a lot, programs. It's getting a little tougher now with,
Right.
in my industry anyway,
Right.
business, trying to make these ratios, make these loans and these programs fit
Sure.
the bar, Yeah.
You know who was on the panel earlier today?
Who's
Panel
that?
number one. This is this
This is
is
number
the
two. Yeah.
yeah. Oh man, I tell you, So I need to bring in the killers now. These are old heads, the guys with tons of experience and gonna throw down.
Who's
Now
that? You talking
Francis
about
was
panel one?
nah number
This one
two.
ain't. I'm a
Yeah.
young guy, man. I'm a young guy, man. You kidding me?
No, I had like 10 and 12-year-olds on the first panel, man. They talking high finance. No, I had Francis Kilson.
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah,
Francis, yeah,
yeah.
I know.
He was
Is
at
he?
Stronghold for a minute,
Yeah.
and then through I'm not sure, but he's in real estate. He's doing some stuff, and
Okay.
that's what part of
That's-
this is to while we're waiting for is a couple other brothers to jump on, but we'll see. What was I gonna say? Is
Is Francis coming to this panel?
no,
Oh.
no. You know Francis, Mike?
Oh, yeah, we worked together. I've done some
Okay.
real estate with him.
See, there we go. We'll
They
see.
close some deals. He really
And he's a
wants.
Central alumni.
Oh, okay.
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 Yeah. Well,
What's when you say central? What central? Which central?
yeah, tell them what Central is. Like that's all that in a bag of chips, Mike. Go ahead. Oops. I
Okay.
forgot. I shouldn't be talking. We live, man. So we
Oh,
before
okay.
what
Got you. Being
you
recorded.
know. Anyway, Central. I got no problem with them.
What is it? A high school? Is that the
Uh,
Central High School or the college, North Carolina Central?
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, well, I'm up.
Yeah. He asked about Central.
No, I was talking about Central. What exactly was Central? I think he popped out by
Oh,
accident.
okay. Yeah. Well, Central High School in Philly,
Central High School. Oh, okay,
the
okay.
all
Got
boys
you,
school
got you.
that
Well, because
used
I
to be
said
all.
I said my son to North Carolina Central. That's
Okay.
what I was wondering. He said Central.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Central ain't what it was when we grew up, you know. Anyway.
No, it was a high level. I remember when I first got here in your town. I got in Philadelphia probably in 97, man.
Okay.
Philadelphia. 97,
Yeah.
98, I got in Philadelphia. You guys,
Okay.
Central was pretty hot back then. That was
Yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
be school. Yeah. I know all schools have changed now. It's gotten so
yeah.
with these schools. Got a daughter going to college now, so I'm doing that thing. We just finally settled on the one out of New York.
Oh, there we go. I must have inadvertently hit my stop share.
Yeah,
I didn't even know I did that. Yeah, so first panel was very engaging.
Sure, sure.
And I hope Mike is able to pop back in and
Yeah,
and a
yeah,
couple
yeah,
other
yeah.
guys. So we'll give a few more minutes.
Yes,
But
sir.
are
Sir.
you doing most of your stuff in Delaware or
No,
Jersey?
no one's really
Okay.
one state now. Most people
Yeah.
are a bunch of states. I'm New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
Maryland. Those are my states because those are the
Good.
ones I'm licensed in. And then if it was a state that I wasn't licensed in, I could
Right.
go under somebody else and still get it.
Gotcha.
I've done that quite a few times too.
Gotcha.
You know,
Gotcha.
yeah. As long as, man, listen, I've been doing this mortgage stuff for about 28 years, man.
I remember, man.
Yeah,
I think I remember us talking about that when maybe those early years and
yeah, the
you
early
know,
years. Yeah, over
yeah,
there, brother, the gentleman there off of Lancaster Avenue, Eugene.
yeah, Gene
Yeah,
Johnson.
Gene Johnson, that's his last name. I remember Gene used to be the guy
Yeah,
at the church there. He handled
the ushers and
the
whatnot.
ushers.
Yeah,
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 yes,
yeah.
yeah. It was good seeing them, really. Oh, we gotta do some things. We gotta do
Yeah,
some.
well, absolutely. Well, part of this is as I share with the first panel is what we're doing is if we're going to shed some light on not so much the issues that's going on from a financial standpoint. The theme for this panel discussion was winning the race to wealth.
Oh, okay,
Winning the race to
okay,
wealth. Now, get your
okay.
house in order is a
Yeah,
slice of doing the basics, if you will,
yeah,
regarding some of the things, and it's a way to challenge, in particular, the brothers to get their house in order. So,
yeah,
winning the race is as some of the discussions led in the first. The key points was, which is the intent of winning the race, is
hmm
really to first of all, give a frame of mind, a reference, an attitude, winning. Yes, we're in this and we are winning. That's
hmm
part of it. It's the ongoing process. And as long as you're in the game, I was listening to different pieces on wealth and whatnot, and someone said, they were using the reference, they use baseball, and they said it's like some folks who are at third base, they got there without even coming to the plate to hit the ball. We've been swinging and hitting the ball, and we've been working. They're at third base, getting ready to come home, and they didn't really have to work. Well, yeah, we did have some challenges and do have some challenges, but we're in the game, and we're winning the game as long as we're in the game. So that's part of what the winning the race to wealth is, in conjunction with get your house in order. And
What
to
gave
get
you the
your
mindset to do this? I mean, in terms of what?
well, actually, the gentleman that I met about 15 years ago. Now, I've been in this in all aspects of financial services. So I've
Yeah,
been in banking and Mike's
yeah,
back,
yeah.
banking and CDFI, small business, micro enterprise lending, and of course still a licensed insurance agent in a couple of states. And so, but I met a gentleman, John Glover from he came to the back to the bank when I was at First Union, then Wachovia.
Right,
Or, I mean,
right,
First
right,
Union, then
right.
later Wachovia.
Oh,
Anyway,
well,
so we got to
yeah,
talking. And that's so he had a passion in working with men in particular,
sure,
men and boys. And
sure,
so his organization, Christian Men Inc. And then I'm saying, yeah, that's all great, but you need to be, in essence, self-sustaining. You need to have your own resources, and you know, we need to be in control, and that involves education and teaching, learning,
sure,
and
sure,
so that you can maximize what you have in hand. You know,
sure, sure,
we have the talents and
sure,
skills and resources.
sure,
Just what are we doing with it?
sure,
You
sure.
know,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, so we kind of came together. We've been pounding it for about 15 years since we came doing off and on various aspects. But I think we got a strong component
How would you
um,
meet? I
at the
mean,
bank.
you would meet at the bank.
Yeah,
Okay.
he came in to open up an account,
Right, right, right.
and so you know, and so he
Then
was
spurred one thing to the other.
he actually, well, he's a deacon at that time and still is at Enon.
Okay, right,
And
right,
yeah,
right.
so I'm talking about, and part of it is like, you know, from the faith-based standpoint,
Yeah.
those with resources need to really maximize and leverage and take the leadership position. And Mike knows this well, you know,
Yeah,
over at New Covenant. But so
yeah.
we started, I was just saying, hey, you know,
Gotcha,
if,
gotcha.
and actually that began the two facets. So with his
Mhm.
drive, but the one hook, whereas again, he can talk business straight
Mhm.
up, man. And real estate is his forte.
Okay,
That's
okay,
his forte. So he
okay,
can definitely talk real estate
okay,
with you. But
okay.
for the organization, Harris, and I'm glad you asked a question. So he could talk business, so I didn't have to kind of frame stuff in
Uh-huh,
conversation.
uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
But his program is what really the hook was. He's intentional about intergenerational, so
Right,
that you have the youth, adults, and
right,
seniors.
right.
We know the experiences. You got the youth over here doing this, you got the adults that's trying to make it and doing everything, even in whatever aspects
Yeah,
of
yeah,
activities, and then you got
yeah,
the seniors over here in the corner.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
to pass along the knowledge, um, and the best, you know, best practice. Well, this is how I did, even if I'm
yeah,
retired. If I
yeah,
got my grandson and I'm talking to my son, we can talk and we can exchange ideas about a point,
yeah,
you know. So that was the core that said, okay, I can,
yeah.
instead of trying to work with a whole bunch of nonprofits, which is
Right.
what I've been
Okay,
doing now.
you kind of spread it out with different
Everything comes
sectors.
through him now, through
Yeah,
that nonprofit, then
gotcha,
whatever
gotcha,
he's able to do and connect
gotcha.
with the organization. So, but we're leveraging that relationship that he has on the nonprofit side,
Mm,
with the faith-based side,
okay.
with the relationships that I have in the straight up financial side, man. And I just thank all of you brothers who have just, you know, just given me, sharing with me some of the time with the folks in doing this, because this is just the beginning. It is in fact going to be an ongoing process
Gotcha,
where, and this is where I hope our conversation comes into play as far as what. So, but yeah, that's how we came together and
okay,
been
okay,
forging this.
okay.
Yeah, and to get your house in order was, especially in the last 2 years, with
Yeah,
folks dropping like
yeah,
flies and
yeah,
everybody's
yeah.
passing
This
the hat,
pandemic.
man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Being a New
you know.
Yorker, man, I seen, I saw the trucks, man, the trucks in
Oh
the back of
man.
those hospitals getting loaded up.
Whoa.
Man. So it's a lot when it comes to,
Wow.
what you're saying. But you know what's fascinating, though? You're seeing more and more of this now, really, in terms of us different men's groups and groups
Right.
getting together financially, trying to come up
Right.
and solve the issues for the long range.
For the
You know,
long range.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that again speaks to the intergenerational component, is we need to be training the young bucks that's coming
Mhm.
up so that they can have a viable process.
Yeah, we got to get to those schools, man. I think you got to really. We should be doing this stuff to these elementary kids. Man.
Well, hold up. Now
You
you're
gotta
scratching
get
on the
stuff,
point.
man.
So let me frame the
You
question
flipped
so
out
you
your,
can
your
answer.
screen flip.
Yeah, huh?
Your screen flipped again.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
you know. Yeah.
There we go. Let me move my mouse out the way. Thanks for that.
No, boy.
Part of this is, as I was sharing slightly in the beginning, is winning the race to wealth. Now, we know what the issues are. There have been a whole lot of talk about the wealth gap, this, and so we know the issues. They're not new. Part of this discussion, just to scratch at, is how to offer, from your perspective, practical strategies and solutions that can move the needle forward so that we know we're in the game. But what are some of the strategies that you see are practical that can be scaled up, even though they may be practical, and utilizing what you do as a basis for evidence that, yeah, I'm in this game and the solution I see is this. And this is how I'm working at it from my end. So if both of you would just reflect on that. So, well,
Yeah, Mike, I'll let you take it first.
So, it's interesting you said that because we had a workshop called Hidden Money Figures one time, and it was dealing with what's right in front of us. What are the type of things that we've used in the past that helped us as a people progress? And it's in the area of obvious economic development, but it was entrepreneurship. So, and that's the subject that's taught the least, if at all. Because what they do in school is they teach us how to be employees. Right? So they teach us how to be an employee. And that if you look at Emancipation Proclamation, basically it was an employee agreement. If you read it closely, it basically says that, and I'm paraphrasing it, it basically says that you now have to pay a wage to those working for you. It didn't make us free. It made us, it allowed us to participate in the economic development, in the economic world. So right after that, or right before, let's say Juneteenth, because Juneteenth was when the last word got out to all the slaves that, hey, you're now, right, you don't have to work for free. They have to pay you. Abraham Lincoln started a thing called the Freedmen Bank.
Right.
And the Freedmen Bank, what the purpose was to teach us about money. Because now if we're going to be in this economic world, we got to know something. And that's the same thing we got to do today. They don't teach us about money. They teach you how to save in a bank. And the workshop the pre-recorded workshop I did was dealing with how the bank uses that money to make their money. That's not really for you.
Right.
So we got to teach about entrepreneurship and making our money work. If we can get that kind of work, like my son, he's a senior at Westchester University. He's had this entrepreneurial mindset since he's been shoveling snow. Right. He went from shoveling snow, and he said, "Dad, I like it, but I don't like it because I can't control when it snows." Right. So he started detailing sneakers. He got he studied it, and he was in school. He was a freshman, and then I invested in his business. He had a airbrush, right? He was doing, because he was pretty artistic. He was doing designs and stuff, and he was taking business from somebody else that was doing it, to the point they tried to rough him up. This is at Central. They tried to rough him up.
Oh, like, boy, you ain't telling
the upper class. Like, are you kidding me? He was taking business. But here's the thing. He had the mind. He started tasting what it's like to have an idea and to take risk and do something and make money. The money coming in his hands. Like basically he's in his mindset, I created money. I just created money. And that's what entrepreneurship is. Is how to create money, taking an idea, providing value to someone, a service or a good or a product. So he went from detailing sneakers to he created a clothing brand. First, he was just doing t-shirts. Then COVID hit, and now he moved to college. COVID hit, he came home, he was bummed out. I'm working from home. He said, Dad, can I use my car? I said, yeah. He started hustling. He was hustling during COVID.
Thinking might do a COVID.
He was hustling. He made so much money, he bought a car and moved out. He was hustling.
Oh man. I wonder where he got that from. Generational.
But the thing is, I've been telling them about taking risks. I said, you're in a position where you could take, I say, I'm not, no excuse for me. I got my business on the side right now too. But you're in a position where you could take mammoth risks. You can get the education first. Don't just go out there and just willy-nilly, right? Get the education. So he studies stuff and then he does it. That's what we need to teach people. The stuff. What do you like? What makes you mad that's not done, and what makes you happy when it gets done? Those are the type of things that each person is different, and we teach them these things, then they can go into the realm of entrepreneurship, because the school, not only is the school teaching us how to be employees, they're trying to indoctrinate these students with a bunch of stuff, and we got less and less kids going to Sunday school. So they'll get that balance to, So Lord, the starting a business, creating jobs, creating a product or service is biblical. It's you know what I'm saying? That's biblical. So that's a way of. I heard this one minister say. He said, when you're serving other people. Like a business is basically serving other people. You're providing a product or a service to someone. You're adding value. That's biblical. There's nothing wrong with that. Then sometimes people try to demonize entrepreneurs and business people. We need them. We need you got ideas that I don't have. Somebody, you know what I'm saying? So they'll come up with different stuff that helps the society. We need to get more, not only get more people tuned into entrepreneurship, but I think in the area of trades, we're lacking too. It's not promoted as much, trades, different things,
oh, of course.
It is not like right now, I work at my full-time job is Lockheed Martin. Lockheed realized it to the point they created, about 2 or 3 years ago, they created scholarships for people to go to trades. That's that, you know what I'm saying? No, we're engineering companies, software and all these fancy stuff. But if you don't have anybody to make it, what good is it?
That's right.
So they started investing in scholarship for trade school. There's no shame in going to trade school. We gotta pump.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh please.
Oh man,
I say it all the time.
Make good money.
Real good money, especially now. Yeah, I'm always paying. Yes.
So Mike, you were kind of alluding to I guess from the standpoint of entrepreneurship as being and part of the drive of all of this to address and to provide some practical strategies and solutions in winning the race to wealth. So from an institutional standpoint, which is what I think will help to, especially from a generational standpoint, put it like that. If I got $1 million and, I don't get my house in order and have the necessary paperwork in order, and I don't, and I allow the state to come in because I don't have a will, et cetera, then state is going to come in and take whatever percentage of that, federal, state, or whoever, from taxes, as opposed to if I have it all squared away.
Right.
If the other things aren't in place properly, I want it all. If I'm single and and it's not situated right. And one of the attorneys who talked about estate planning, he shares a story of exactly just that. That's what I'm speaking about. But from an institution standpoint, so is there a Mike, how did we originally meet? Remember, I followed up on the call. When did we first meet?
I can't remember when we first
10
met,
years ago.
but
Wow.
I know we
10
met.
years ago. Listen to this, Harris. And this is
It's more
part
than
of the
10
piece.
years.
10 years ago. 10 years ago, we met because the Federal Reserve, they had an outreach program to
Mm.
teach. So I'm dovetailing on your first point as far as teaching, contrary teaching be employees. The Federal Reserve was outreaching to faith-based organizations.
Right.
Financial literacy was it. I had that 2012 list. That's how I was able to follow up with you about 2 weeks ago. I'm saying, I wonder what Mike is doing. We haven't talked in a while. And you know, I hope it and Institute for Financial Success. So that's where we met at with the same intent. So that was
Okay.
one institution that was attempting to kind of engage to provide financial literacy, because we say it's not enough. I don't know, you know, folks say, I didn't know about how to balance a checkbook. I didn't know how to open up a bank account, et cetera, et cetera. But see, that's an institution. 10 years, 12 years, I'm not sure how long it went, but I know it didn't go over the period of time. What happened? I don't even really care what happened, but it proves my point, is that from an institutional standpoint, we need to be in control of institutions that can help sustain that and
Right.
develop those that can come behind us as leaders to take over the institutions, so that it's not a question about, you know, 12 years later, we kind of rebooting this thing. Well, somebody I was reading, listening to another one, they did the first, I think he said the first 25 decades. You know, what happened after the first 25 passed post the proclamation? What happened in the next 10 decades? You know, come on.
Mm-hmm.
See, so from an institution is what you're referring to that needs to happen. So I see that educational institution where we need to be intentional about how that can happen. Harris, is there any kind of institutional approach that you can see? Because the institutions, from my estimation, is what enables it to be passed along, as opposed to, you know, an individual.
In my business, I have been doing mortgages and lending for 28 years.
Right.
When I first got into business, interest rates were 18%. You know, and I could have done a lot of other different things. I've opened up branches. I've worked for Chase, Wells, Bank of America, all those guys. And for me, it's always been, home ownership has always been a pivotal. That's what took me from where I'm at. You know, I wind up, you know, because when I was growing up, I mean, I grew up in New York, basically, one room apartment, me and my mom, my sister, we all lived in one room, man. And we went from a place of not owning anything, really, you know? And to me, for me, pivotal in terms of when you're talking wealth and wealth building, it's always been in real estate for me.
Okay.
You know, buying and then, you know, and not just flipping, but buying and holding on.
Right.
You know, and people, you got the market, you got the folks who want the quick money with the flipping.
Right.
To me, that's not generational. That's just here and now, and that's quick. You know, you buy a property, you renovate it a little bit, you sell it for maybe 2-3 more than what you paid for it. But to me, that's just basically flipping, getting money for the now. For that generational money, it's buying that property, keeping it and holding it for the long run. You know, and so that's what and there's something about dealing with the individuals, you know, dealing with the people. I could have easily been in offices, had a bunch of loan offices. And
Right.
But for me, it's that contact. I like helping folks, individuals, because that's where it's at. You know, and for me, that's where it's at in real estate. I believe in, you know, and I mean, you got to be willing to, there's times when you wasn't making any money. For a long time in this business, it wasn't making any money. And then, but then you got to control it. You know, it went from taking advantage of a lot of people, getting really taken advantage of, mainly us, to basically laws being tightened where there wasn't no money into it, where now you're seeing it loosening up a little bit, you know? So but I always tell folks, you know, you gotta have that mentality, the ownership mentality. Just like you have that entrepreneur, you have to have that mentality of ownership. You know, you don't want to constantly rent. And then I leave it to the financial guys like Michael to go ahead and explain to them the benefits of why you should own it, you know, the tax ramifications and all that. But I just stick with the mortgage, just stick with structuring their situation, because everybody can own a house. I mean, my first property, my credit score was 550. I had defaulted student loans, I had a repossessed car, but you gotta have that mindset you want to do better. You can clean that stuff up within a year, depending on whatever your situation is. You know, you can clean that stuff within a year. I went from 550 to 600, which was in striking range of buying my first property. You know, and so I tell people all the time, you know, you can start from the bottom. You don't really, even if you're at the bottom, you owe a lot of people. Your credit isn't where it should be. Your mentality's there, and you got the wherewithal to stay in it and be disciplined and talk to guys like Mike there, then you can get through it. You can buy that house. You know what I mean? Because, you know, it's good. It wasn't easy to get in it. It wasn't easy to mess your situation up. You got to give it some time to get it out, no matter what your financial situation is.
Let me ask you a question, because that point was raised in the earlier session. One of the panelists, he actually was from Benin, Africa. He said he came here. And he tells part of his story because he does financial planning 101, which will be tomorrow. I forget what time, but he does his presentation. But he speaks about the whole point. He came here with $5 in his pocket, right? That's one thing. But he said he didn't understand his example that he used today was he went to get a cell phone and they said, well, you can't get it. You got no credit. He said, what's credit? I don't know about no credit. He was a young boy then, right? So the way he said it in the place was everybody like, who's this guy? And, you know, and so he talks about that, but he became vulnerable was his point of what he didn't know. Now, this is, again, I think a cultural thing. Whereas he wanted to get ahead and he knew I didn't know something and who can help me. He didn't know who. Eventually he said someone helped him, but it's the vulnerability piece again, where, okay, I had to file for bankruptcy because of all the student loans and then the refinance and everything else. And then I got laid off and then, you know, the baby had triplets and all that. And so he had financial issues, you know, what's new, you know, get in line, you know, thousands of people, but it's the mindset. And that one for him is where you can learn it.
On that topic right there, that's what makes me stay in the business. Because you got folks who will just let that person take advantage of that person, just blow that person off. And then you got another set of persons who say, listen, let me help you. This is what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to do this. You're going to go do this. Even though you might not be profitable to you at that moment. It's not about that. It's about uplifting that person's life. That's what we do when we help these people buy a house. We uplift their lives. And that's why I like what I do. You know,
I want to comment on something, Harris, because what's interesting about what you said is the area that you work in requires people to get financial education. You know what I'm saying? And that's important. Like you, Rudy, you mentioned earlier about the generational, I forgot who it was. You said that works with generational Christian education or financial
Christian Men Inc. Intergenerational Christian Men Inc. That organization.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the sponsors, actually, the host of the Get Your House in Order conference.
So the key thing about that is
Right.
That's one method of getting
Uh-huh.
the information. Now, I
Right.
mean, you go to, you probably know some Jewish families. You
Mhm.
probably know, you
Sure.
know, they have
Right.
a system of
Right.
passing information down to
Right.
generations,
Oh,
Right.
right?
yes.
And if we can leverage the church, we can
When
leverage the family,
when
and
we
if we can
do.
leverage the school,
Mhm.
Yes.
that's the only way you can get that to pass down. Because if we don't leverage it to pass it down, then it'll be like flipping a house.
Mhm.
Somebody will get some knowledge and they'll
Mhm.
prosper, but then the
Mhm.
next generation won't.
Right.
Or what they'll do something, and I don't know if your estate planner dealt with this earlier, they'll do so, excuse me, like make the family beneficiaries of all their stuff, and then their
Right.
stuff is sold or spent
Right.
18
Right.
months, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, I've just recently, within the last year, learned the power of living trust,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
and how, because they talk,
Right.
I've heard jokes about
Yeah.
trust babies and the rich people with trust,
Right.
not realizing we can tap into that
Yeah.
too and
Too,
pass stuff
absolutely.
down.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we're restructuring our stuff now. My wife and I, we're restructuring stuff because we learning it. I'm like, wow, this is how they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how they do it. Yes.
That's how they
Yes.
do it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
see the information maybe in the past was difficult and challenging to access,
Yeah.
but that's no excuse now.
No.
And we don't need, we don't,
Yeah.
and the expertise that we have maybe in the past because we didn't have that experience, so we had to go through somebody. And you know, one of my heroes is Marcus Garvey, because from an economic development standpoint, he did it.
Yeah.
He mobilized. He
Yeah.
had the vision, and he had entrepreneurs and that whole piece in play. Again, because he wasn't the experts in those areas, then those he didn't have his best interest, or the organizations, if you will, best
Sure.
interest. And so, you know, then no different than anyone else. If you let someone to come in and take advantage of you. So whereas he's one example, but to your point is driving that home, and how can we drive that home, and institutionalizing. And when I say that, I don't mean a formal institution. I'm not saying we have to get together and set up another company just to talk about this, talk about financial literacy, or talk about deals coming together, and pooling resources. There's ways we can draw up a contract just for a specific deal, just like we do a limited partnership. Harris, you probably know, you got 10 guys come in, put a couple dollars in, they buy the house, and I mean, it's just, we all agree, and it's all in black and white, clean. You put this in, you get this percentage. So it's the implementation of a system, and part of that is not is the mobilization of those with the resources, which we have, but in leadership, and then begin to implement that and have a training mechanism in place so that we can pass it along. So just like you said, as in other communities.
Yeah.
It's
How do you think about getting, because a lot of it has to do with the people's motivation to want it.
right.
How do you make them want more, and not be
more?
Want better for their communities, and like what we're discussing here with the generational wealth.
Yeah.
To obtain that, because you can lead them to the water, but can you get them to drink it?
But see, use Mike's son as an example. There was something that he saw, or he saw progress or something.
He's going with Mike. Mike's in that house making them work, telling them, "No, get up, get out of here, get out of bed, boy. You got work to do." Mike was, Mike's there handling that, man. Yeah, absolutely.
And see, that's relational, though. See, I want you to drive home that point. That's relational, which is where the motivation comes to want to do better. When we were connecting in a small group setting, and this is the business model that I see will help move the needle, is to scale but small. to scale, but small. And that's the institutionalization that I see. Is if you have 1,000 little small start with like you're doing, Mike, with your family, you're renewing the mind now, and you're coming in with a new paradigm for your family, how you can handle your finances better. You're saying, I just picked up something. Well, you're starting with your family to kind of get your house in order.
Right.
That's your immediate family. And then that will gradually extend to your extended family and then the broader community. Right. When each of us are doing this, now this is the key. The relationship comes into play where I can say, hey, Mike, what are you doing? You're on a track. This is if I know you and you know me, that I have your best interests at heart, which is what I appreciated about when we were connected, Harris, was that was it. You given the prerogative, the right to challenge your brother.
Sure.
Absolutely. To do what you know he wants to do is to do right for his family. Right. Come on.
And
we know that's there.
Absolutely.
So it is having a process in place that everyone can see that is simplistic enough. Then it's just a matter of what's the play. I'm gonna hand you the ball. You're just gonna drive up the middle. You're gonna run up the middle. That's the play. Everybody else just block forward. We ain't doing the handoff. No. We can maybe do that, but for now, I'm gonna hand you the ball, and you just run up the middle. We get a yard, 2 yards. We get 10 yards. Then what do? We got another first down. That's where the intergenerational forum, being intentional about that within our own families, our nephews, our cousins, our uncles, our grandpops, we begin to have that internal connection and communication so that we can share and challenge one another in areas that we know we should. Now, in love, we know how to do that. In Christ, we know how to engage one another, which is an easier play. Right. But again, is allowing him to guide us in whatever that conversation and speak, to our family, definitely. And then for a brother you don't know, and you want to share with him how he can buy that house, and you just want to be mindful of how you approach him and how the other piece that you may see. So that's an institutional approach that I see can help change and address.
Move the needle.
Call it whatever you want to call it.
I think you can drive that by focusing, and obviously this is focused by Christian Men Inc., by focusing on men and focusing more so on fatherhood. Rather it's with your own biological child or with the kids in the neighborhood or at the church. Because helping men understand the role of fathers, that's how we can then touch the next generation, because then you're teaching them to be a father to that next generation, because that's how our father relates to us. God wants to, he told us he wants to provide for us. He wants to take care of us, all these things. But what does he require us to do? So what we're doing as in the mindset of father is challenging, shaping, molding, mentoring, trying to guide. And that is something that could be done in the school, right? Hey, we got these men, they want to teach. It could be done at the home. We're going to teach young fathers. You can, somebody's going to be a mentor to a young father to teach them about raising their kids, and it could be done obviously in your own home, or if you're extended family, that type. Because I was watching a Miles Monroe tape the other day, and he said almost all our problems can be traced to fatherhood or lack thereof. If we expand that, and because that's how we affect our families, our communities, and this nation. And that's why it's under attack. That's why fatherhood is under attack. That's why men are under attack.
Right.
because the enemy understands that more than we do.
Mhm.
Well, but see, that's my point. Is that's given. That's my frame of reference. That's given. I don't care what you're doing. That's a given. So in spite of that, that's all the more reason why, again, we need the leverage, because if I'm out doing a solo thing, that's I'm in the fourth quarter of my life. Fourth
Right.
quarter, not the 2-minute drill. It's not the 2-minute drill. I
I
just want you
know
to know,
that's
okay?
right.
Not
I
the
hear
two
you.
minutes, just the
Yes,
fourth
sir.
quarter.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter now. So, and I
Uh,
want to leave a legacy, and that's part of
yeah,
not only with my family. We're doing the
yeah,
same thing, Mike,
yeah.
in sharing and with our family to help understand some things, so that at least that's taken care of. But he has called us to do greater things under his direction, and I view what we're doing, as I said in the first panel, as trustees of what he's given us, as trustees, legal
Yeah,
representation of the
yeah.
resources, legal representations. So that is another paradigm to help for me personally to understand what am I doing, as opposed to, well, not opposed to, but steward is the word most of the time you hear.
Right,
Okay, yeah,
right.
steward. No, but now if you're a trustee, you understand that. I don't care what level you're at. When you are receiving a trust as a trustee, so you have resources that don't belong to you, but you're in charge of them. My time, talent, treasures, and your relationships and all of that. So the charge is, yes, to change our community. That's our local community and the broader community, wherever we're at. So the institutions that I think both of you have referred to is from the educational standpoint, and you can flip it on his head. I want to underscore the point is, yeah, we can go into the churches, we can go into the schools, we can go here. Therein lies inherent challenges when you do engage, for those that are quote unquote unfriendly for whatever reason, even going into the church. Or I don't want that program coming here. I'm a so and so denomination. You may be just you happen to be another denomination. See, cool, but we can still flip it on his head. See, I don't care what denomination you are.
Right.
See, if we can come together on this one point, and this is where this whole facet, as far as one, leveraging technology, at least to scratch at the surface, so that we can share the information. And for those that say, yeah, Harris, you in real estate? Yeah. I want to buy a house, and yeah, I wrecked my credit, and I can't do this, and my score is, I think you get 200. I got 201, man. So can you help me? And he said,
I got you.
That gives me hope.
I got you. Just that.
And that's what anyone wants. And that's the first leg of it. And as we do that, then the rest of the stuff can come into play. It's just, here's the playbook, but no need to hand the brother the playbook and he can't even read.
You moved your mouse again. Yeah.
So if you don't know how to read, then we need to show you how to read. But if we know that, we can hand you the ball, all we want you to do is do this. And when you perfect that, then we can move on to some other razzle dazzle
I remember being in some meetings back when I initially got into this business. I would say probably in, like it was in 2020 years. Yeah, early 2000s.
Right.
And we were getting so taken advantage of. We'd be in these meetings with all these Caucasian folks.
Right.
And they was charged where one set of group was getting charged maybe 1 or 2 points.
Right.
There was another good set of group who was getting charged 8, 9, 10 points. Before it was regulated, you can make 10% on a loan. That it was ridiculous. And it was no
rig.
No caps.
Yeah.
Nobody was involved. Nobody was looking. It was just selling all this bad paper over on Wall Street. And so it was, you didn't have to have a job. You didn't have to have
Right.
No tax returns. They
Right.
were even looking
Right.
at you early. It was the Wild Wild West. Man.
Right.
It was
Right.
the Wild
Right.
Wild West. But it was funny. But when you
Uh-huh.
get that, we were the ones getting taken advantage of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I would look at them like scum, man, because I
Right.
knew when they
Right.
was talking about making all that money off those loans, it was
Right.
us because we didn't
Right.
read.
Right.
We were just so happy
Right.
to sign
Right.
these papers to get
Right.
this property that we didn't care. We was just
Oh,
signing,
man.
signing, and signing. And you had people who signed for
Yeah.
those loans where they ballooned in 5
Right.
years or 6
Right.
years, and you lose your house.
Right.
It was
Right.
ridiculous, man. And so that's when that point on, I said, I want to be on the floor and I
Right.
want to talk people through
Right.
this. I want to let them know, I want them to give them the information so they can make wise decisions.
Right.
I never sold any of that subprime
Right.
stuff, the
Cool.
12, 13% stuff. If I couldn't get you through with a regular FHA, VA, conventional, USDA, something, I would say, I would let you take you where you need to go. You need to start here and work your way up. I was working with the people was like, Harris, why are you working with these loans? But you're not making no money on these loans. They so hard. But you know what? That was where my heart was. It was like, well, that's what I want to do. I know you guys was out here all scummy, taking advantage of us, you know what I mean? So when those laws and the rules came down, the CF, Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, and all them, when they came around and started doing things, I was good with it, man.
Right, you was good.
Like, y'all need to be regulated because y'all out here tripping, and then y'all making all that money on us because their national, they were reading. They knew what to do. They knew they wasn't supposed to get. They knew what they needed. And if something was wrong, they would ask you questions. African Americans, us, we was just so happy to get the house. We was just signing.
Yeah.
So information is important.
That goes back to the point of being vulnerable enough to say, I don't know. Well, what about this? I don't want to sign this. Even if you don't have a lawyer, I want to take my lawyer review this.
I want somebody who I trust to read this.
We won't even
done this before.
So but you see, you're speaking to the point because there's another side to that. Yes, for those that's in the game as financial professionals, especially from those early years, I shared how I got in the insurance business was when my mother passed in 78. And she had an industrial policy, $500 policy. I saw the man come every week, and collect it. I didn't know what was going on, but then when she passed, industrial policy, $500. I mean, we still was able to take care of it. We'd had to pass the hat and all that. Man, 3 years later, that's how I became an agent. Because I was doing my homework and I started research. This ain't right. I didn't understand this, and so from there, but in those earlier years, not knowing, and I wasn't a business finance major or anything like that. I was a political science major, going some aspect of that. But what needs to happen again it's a challenge though when you're in the business. See, because if you're trying, it is challenging, and you got to pay the mortgage and the rent. So how do you do that if your clientele 50-60%, they can't even buy you a cup of coffee if you and so what do you do? That's the other reason why creating the network for where we can exchange and cross-pollinate services, because we understand what we're doing to help the client, and we all can make a buck. There's a win-win-win on all parties. But that takes the laying out and developing of the relationships. And I hope to forge the relationship between Mike and Harris and the other brothers that's on play, so we all can kind of say, and we all know how the true vetting comes into play through relationship. It comes into play when you know somebody else. And they say, oh yeah, I know Harris. We go way back. Yeah, he's a good brother. Oh, I know Mike, we did, so that helps to accelerate the relationship. So now we can move it along faster to help one another. That's all. And it's understandable. So
But Harris has to be ready to step up to the plate too, though. My game gotta be tight when you make that move, you know what I mean?
Well, that's where we get to learn that. See, okay, we see that, hey, this other brother, he's got a little more expertise in this. Maybe you need to speak to him about putting together this deal,
but you know what?
Because you have interest in that.
Networking also helps keep accountability.
Yeah.
Because now it's not about me. It's not, I don't want to let my brother down.
Right.
There you go.
Right. So I got to keep my skills tight.
Right.
Now, I mean, you bringing me out of retirement, Rudy. So I got
But see, again, part of it is your wisdom and expertise. See, and this is the last leg I want to share with you guys of where all of this goes. So yes, for me, it's an institutionalization of that, as I shared before. But part of that is the training. So I'm working in Trenton as an office in Trenton with to develop the Institute for Financial Professionals, where we are training. You want to be a banker, you want to go into real estate, you want to be a bookkeeper, you want to be an accountant, you want to be an actuary, where we're providing the training. So this is going to be a formal workforce development piece. And the reason I'm saying up Trenton, we have some dialogue with the state, one of the contacts up there, and said, hey, if you got a workforce development, we'd be interested in that. I've already written the program out, the draft of it. All I gotta do now is really the numbers on it. And that's the easy piece for me. But the layout on all of that from the networking standpoint, so that again, this is where the intergenerational. If we can bring you in as an intern, high school, go to college, whatever it is you want to do, and this is where we say, oh, I want to be a so-and-so. Okay, well, you can do that, and then we can still counsel you and say, yeah, have you considered this, without saying no, with your pop or mom or somebody else maybe trying to force you to go, and that ain't you. This is where, financial services, we need the coaching. We definitely need the coaching from experienced folks to say, this is how you can get ahead. You go to the bank, you don't want to be maybe in this department in your whole career. Maybe you want to get in wealth management and make some of those deals and learn how to do those kind of things. So that's the other leg of all of this of because it should be so scaled out that individually you can't handle all the clients.
Yeah. And
so we are going to need the team.
Because I have my organization, NARAB, which was basically where I met you at, and that, well, not where I met you at, but I met you here, but where we last met reconnected over in Annette. I've known Annette, and we've been a part of NARAB for like 20 years almost, you know what I mean? And that's a real estate organization. We're doing that as well, basically trying to intern, bring on board real estate developers, builders, appraisers, and training them through this organization. So, each one of us has different organizations we also belong to that we can collaborate and bring those pieces to bear as well.
Well, if you talk to her, me and Annette have already had the conversation.
Oh, okay.
It's just a matter of when. And part of that win was the win. I'm not trying to call the win. As it comes together, then that's as it's developed. But I'm moving, like I said, it's fourth quarter, moving a little slower because I'm listening a little more. That's what it is. And I'm moving too fast now. Like, no, because I can figure it out now. I can figure out how to roll it. My faculties aren't that slow, but I've blown past some opportunity. Rudy, this was the deal right here. You trying to do these 10 deals.
Yes, sir.
This one is 10 times that. So, well, look, we're approaching that a few minutes over.
Yeah.
But I appreciate everyone So any last thoughts that either one of you want to share with
Well,
get the house in
this
order?
has been good. I'm just looking forward to it. I think is now share, make sure you have the email address.
Yes.
So make sure we get each other's confirmation,
Absolutely.
information and what we all do. And we can even feed off of that right
Yes.
there, because I'm in my business, I need some finance people, I
Sure.
need some insurance people,
Sure.
I need some contractors, so those are the things, I got so many pieces that I need that I can
Absolutely.
shuffle business over to. So make
Mike?
sure we know information.
Mike, any last words?
No, I'm very interested because it's we gotta educate our folks. We can use this not only to educate people and help the next generation, but it also is a pathway to the gospel as well.
Amen.
Because it's just like we have this organization on our church campus called Youth with a Mission. They
Mhm.
go in and they help renovate homes of people that
Right.
may be financially challenged, but
Right.
then they deliver the gospel while they're
Right.
there. So it's a
Right.
doorway into it, and I can see this as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. He said church campus. That's what I talked about. Is that
Yeah.
you're at Enon, right?
No, I'm New Covenant Church of Philadelphia.
Oh, New Covenant. That's off of Germantown.
Yes.
Germantown Avenue up there in Mount
Mount
Airy.
Airy.
Yeah. I live in Delaware.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I live in Delaware.
I thought you said you work. You don't work in New York.
No, I do. I'm licensed in New York. I'm from New York, and I got property in New York.
Okay, but you work in Delaware.
No, I live and work in North Wilmington.
Oh, okay.
And my office is in Philadelphia in Fishtown.
Okay.
So it's all connected.
Yeah. Well, that's where I think you asked me earlier. That's the bank I worked at, right in Fishtown. That Wachovia that's now Wells Fargo.
Right up, yeah.
That's where that was my office for 5 years, man.
5 years, wow.
Golly, I mean, and you talking about property values. I mean, I remember my heart was hurting. I was trying to tell some of the folks, don't sell. I mean, at least
$500,000.
Not for that. Not for that. They were coming in because they're getting a $40,000, $50,000 check. I was like, wow, no, please, no.
No.
This is where
that stuff around there now, 700, 650, all day long, man.
Yeah.
Pushing that's another thing. Push gentrification, man, pushing everybody out.
We can stop the bleeding. See?
Yes, we can.
We can stop, and we can be that. And part of this, the last piece of this is I'm doing my own study and eliciting other folks that want to participate in documenting what we're doing, so that we can have something that we can say, yeah. We know all these other things that you said couldn't work or didn't work and blah, blah, blah. Well, we took 100 individuals, families or whatever, and over this 10-year period, this 20-year period, this 30-year period, this 50-year period, this 60, and then now, 60, let me see, I'll be, oh, wow.
Got you, brother. I'm right there with you, brother.
But those that are coming along can document. That's laying that foundation of documentation and implementation of what we're doing.
This was my granddad said so many years ago, man. You're looking at this stuff.
Yeah, Well, hey, appreciate it. Mike, did you want to close us out, man? You was almost like you was exuding. I didn't know, man. I mean, that's on you.
Close us out.
All right. Heavenly Father, first of all, we just thank you for this day that you have made. We rejoice and we're glad in it. We thank you for bringing these brothers together, iron sharpening iron, Lord. We thank you for putting in our heart the will and to help others, Lord. We serve you by serving others, Lord, and we thank you for putting that in our hearts. Now we pray, Lord, that you empower us and open our eyes to the direction and things that you want us to do, Lord, so we can continue serving more, so we can continue expanding your kingdom, the kingdom of God on this earth, Lord. And we just thank you for all these things. Praise you and glorify your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 All right, brothers. Go ahead.
God bless.
Hey, the Sixers up 60.
60.
Now I don't know what the score is. I'm just kidding.
I know it's 87, 82, 67. Yeah, Philly's killing them.
Oh, good.
Oh,
good,
they
good.
trying to end this.
They trying
to.
to wrap this. Yeah, Philly's killing them. 87, 82,
I got a
67.
good turn on. I know my
All
son.
right, well, go ahead, brother. Hey,
All right, brothers.
Take
Be in
care.
touch.
Yeah.
all right.
All right.